Good evening, folks. Welcome to where am I looking? I'm looking at Adam on a screen here. I'm juggling videos over here. Should be saying hello to you. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to a bit of a preview stream from Plains TV ahead of next week's Air Tattoo. I'm not here alone. I mentioned Adam there. Here he is. And
Hello.
you look like you're basking in sunshine there. There's a sort of nice lens flare that makes it look like you've got a nice sunroof above you or something. How's things?
Things are good. I do have a sunroof above me, but there is no sun coming through it currently. That is just the lights in my house.
And you said you've got a cat somewhere as well who's
Yes.
likely to start meowing.
Yeah, if we could get animal related disruptions from multiple quarters. There could be cat disruption, there could be dog disruption. Anything is
I'm
possible.
I'm hoping for dog disruption here as well. I've got a 1 year old cocker spaniel, well, spaniely type thing, who likes to bark at every single item, anything that moves outside. So yeah, he's beneath me here. I've got two hopefully sleeping children about 6 feet away that way, who've not had a bedtime story, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm doing this tonight. Sacrilege, I know, but hopefully it's a worthwhile stream tonight. We've had a few updates this week on what we're expecting to see at Air to do. Obviously, there's all the headliners that we're all getting very excited about, but we thought we'd take the opportunity to dig a bit of video out, get a bit of excitement going for the week. If you're not sure what on earth we're doing here and what Air Tattoo is and what we are exactly doing next week, that you can come along and watch. And we'll be live from Wednesday for arrivals at the Royal International Air Tattoo at Fairford. And we'll be live. We keep saying from the first arrival to the last departure. Now, if anyone's done a departure day at Air Tattoo, you know that just occasionally an aircraft doesn't manage to get away on the Monday. So I always think we should have a little byline to that, which says aside from all the aeroplanes that might not depart on the Monday, but we will pretty much cover every single movement on that airfield certainly from 9 a.m. on Monday to 9 a.m. on Wednesday to whenever we get board on the following Monday. Looking forward to it, Adam?
Oh, very much so. Always a highlight of my summer. It's been a busy summer already. Some great shows that we've been out and filmed, but the Air Tattoo kind of stands head and shoulders above the rest just in terms of its sheer size. It's a marathon for us to get through, but it's always such fun.
It is, and that marathon's starting at 9 a.m. and it's very much in your court, I suppose. You'll be giving us a bit of well, hopefully giving us a bit of guidance on what we're expecting to see. And I'll probably be on camera. We'll have a fairly decent team, actually. We're quite used. If you've watched lots of our streams, you'll be very used to us being a little bit stretched in terms of manpower. As I say, is that one show where you really do need everybody at the pumps. So yeah, we'll be chopping and changing a little bit, and hopefully we'll both get a bit of a chance to hop on the stream, but throwing it very much into Adam's court this weekend. Next weekend, if you watched our Legno coverage, you'll know that Adam's very much in his stride when it comes to commentary and feeding us through an air show. So yeah, we're looking forward to it, and just need the weather a little bit better than last year, please.
Yes,
Maybe not.
please. I haven't dared look at the forecast yet for this year.
It's not too bad. Somewhere in the middle. Oh, I've already got children movements over here. Wish us luck. In fact, that might be a good time to say, what video have we got? Oh, in fact, what I should have done is run a little intro video here, which Adam has prepared, which will give us a bit of a sense of what we're looking forward to next week.
Welcome to RIAT. It calls itself the world's greatest air show, and with 250 aircraft from almost 30 nations, that's a difficult claim to dispute. Plains TV will bring you all the action from RIAT 2024 across 6 days of live broadcasting, from arrivals to departures and everything in between. This year's show marks 50 years of the F-16, the most successful fighter in operation today. With over 20 Fighting Falcons from 10 air arms expected, it will be one of the largest gatherings of F-16s ever at a public event. RIAT also marks the 75th anniversary of NATO with special flypasts on the Friday, and the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Air Force with their CF-18 demo team due to perform all weekend long. We're looking forward to seeing several RIAT flying display debuts this year, like the F-15 Advanced Eagle, making one of its first public appearances. Also RIAT first-timers, Germany's relatively young EF-2000 and A400M solo displays. They'll be joined by numerous familiar favourites, 2 more Typhoons, 3 Gripens, the Spanish Harrier, Italian C-27, German NH-90, Patrie Swiss and Midnight Hawks. The static participants are too numerous to mention, but the B-52, F-4, CC-150 and Elise will surely go down as highlights. Watch it unfold with Planes TV.
Very nicely put together, Adam. Really enjoyed viewing that. And one of the items mentioned that the F-15. So you've borne witness to this display. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I was out in Dubai for the Dubai Air Show, which was the international flying display debut of an F-15 QA. There was a little bit of misreporting at the time that it might be the first ever airshow appearance of an F-15 Advanced Eagle of any kind, which isn't quite true because the Saudis have done a few displays with the F-15 SA, which is their version, albeit not of quite the same level. And this was the first time that I've seen an F-15 really being put through its paces in a good 5 or 6 years, but it's unlike any F-15 display that I've seen before because this variant of the F-15 has fly-by-wire, which the previous F-15s that we've seen on the airshow circuit haven't had. So it's been able to perform some really quite incredible maneuvers. It's also got more power than the older versions of the F-15. And there's a couple of extraordinary sequences in there. Transitions from high speed to low speed flight during steep descents, and also transitions from low speed to high speed flight during steep ascents. So it's a display that close up on the video cameras, on the telephoto cameras, sometimes you don't get a total feel for what it's doing, and then you see the wide angle view and it just blows your mind a bit.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting one to try and get across on video that. And yeah, anything sort of quite high, single jet, you sort of reliant on a bit of a cloudscape, aren't you, to give some context to what the aircraft's actually doing. But we'll be doing our very best to do that and bring that across to you. Something else popped into my head there. So Qatari aircraft, but in Boeing's hands for the weekend.
Yeah. And I think the plan is that we get 2 different versions of the display, both coming from different crews, one being a jet loaded up with air-to-air missiles, 12 of them, I believe, and the other one is a clean aircraft, which will exhibit slightly better performance when it comes to the onset of pitch and alpha and G.
I always think that that having watched some Typhoons with a similar loadout, you know, full loadout, doing a full aerobatic flying display at Farnborough in years gone by, I'm always struck by what little perceptible difference it makes to an aircraft like that. Certainly in the hands of test pilots and things at a show like that, I always feel like it's almost a bit of a no-brainer for a manufacturer to load the aircraft out and really throw it around. Yeah, really impressive stuff. So really looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a difference, a visible difference that you can see with this one, because one of the maneuvers that they specialize in are some very, very abrupt snaps, if not to the vertical, then perhaps to the 45-degree line, the sort of thing that you might more normally expect to see from an F-22. And yeah, they are a little bit slower in the loaded up version, but even then, very impressive.
You spotted a question in the chat from Angus, didn't you? What was that?
I did. Angus said, if we both had to choose a static item and a flying item, what are we most looking forward to and why?
Yikes. What am I most looking forward to seeing? So flying item. Give me a moment. You must have a favourite already ticked. There's probably a TBM coming, isn't there?
Oh, I think there's a TBM coming in the supporting role. So I'll put that down as my favourite movement of the week. Favourite static? Greek F4, but possibly more because of the timing and manner of its arrival. Favorite flyer? I can't choose.
No, I mean, some of the teams, Midnight Hawks be an interesting one. Is it public what they're flying?
Yes, it was announced today, so we can speak about it.
Good. So we're talking Mark 66 Hawks, aren't we? Rather than rather than the aircraft with the smoke winders. So probably not having the smoke, but these are ex-Swiss aircraft, red and white schemes.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a bit trigger happy with my mouse here. So yeah, novelty factor through the roof there on that one for anyone looking forward to seeing Hawks that novel Hawks. We'll have that from the Midnight Hawks. Oh, now this is the problem, you see, having been given a few tidbits of information that we've got to be careful about. I'm now drawn to start talking about things that I'm not positive we can do. So shall we roll that F-18 video, which F-18, the F-15 video. So this is some material from Adam of is this Dubai?
Yeah.
Great. Let's take a look at what the F-15's going to be doing next week at Fairford.
Seen this before in all my years of air shows, an aircraft exiting a reverse half Cuban straight into a high alpha low speed pass. And then showing off its 58,000 pounds of thrust by powering from that low and slow manoeuvre into a half vertical 8, half a loop, half a roll, and then another half loop on top of that. The latest members of the F-15 family, a highly modified version of the Strike Eagle developed for Qatar. Compared with the familiar F-15E, the F-15QA features 2 additional underwing hardpoints, more thrust, active electronically scanned array radar, and a new flight control system with no angle of attack limits. The F-15 ends its quite remarkable demonstration with, I kid you not, a tail slide. Admittedly, pylons and CFTs have been removed for the air show to make this aircraft as light and sleek as possible, but what a tremendous display nonetheless.
Yeah, that is quite something. Very much looking forward to seeing that. It wasn't until watching that material and doing a bit of reading up that I realised F-15's not a fly-by-wire aircraft. That's extraordinary, isn't it? That it's that previous generation of aircraft. So seeing it now updated to that specification, which must have taken a huge amount of effort. And the difference it makes to a similar airframe, many differences airframe-wise?
I don't know, to be honest. Yeah. I don't think there have been any major changes.
No, well, one to look out for anyway. And will we get practice displays? I can't recall. Possibly we do we? The 2 variations? Not sure, but sorry, get you on the right thing. So we talked about arrival streams Wednesday, Thursday, prior to the main show day starting. Well, Friday is a bit of a mixture. You know, there is a full flying display there, but there's also more arrivals as well. Wednesday and Thursdays we'll also be getting practices and validation displays. So validations from aircraft and display teams. I'll call if any of them need to validate, but aircraft from overseas basically that need to validate their display to make sure all's okay for the environs of Fairford. We'll also get practices as well. So you guys watching this now will probably have watched previous arrival streams, so you'll know what they entail, but we'll be getting some flying displays in the mix as well as aircraft arriving.
Yeah, I think we're expecting a good 3 or 4 hours of either practices or validations on each day, validations on the Wednesday, and maybe a few practices as well, and then purely practices on the Thursday.
Yeah, so busy days, and it comes in waves, you know. So we'll be doing our very best to keep you entertained throughout with archive material and other bits and pieces. But yeah, it's a fun stream, isn't it? The sort of waiting game of peering over the fence and wondering what's about to appear on the horizon. We very much enjoy it as long as the weather's all right. I didn't answer, Angus. I'm afraid, regarding favorite. Well, the thing we're looking forward most to seeing in the static display and in the flying. I think static wise, it's going to be the F-16 line for me. 50th anniversary of the F-16's first flight. I think Adam's just told me there's around about 31 nations represented, something like that.
31 nations in total, not 31 nations sending F-16s.
If that
It did seem like a large number, didn't
I
it?
should have allowed that number to sink in before repeating it. Yeah. How many F-16 operators
I
are we?
want to say 10. If it's not 10, it's 10 plus or minus about 2.
31 nations of F-16s. Yeah, that would be,
It would have been impressive.
a nice long line of F-16s. So that's going to be cool, seeing them all come in. And then flying display. I think we're talking, NATO 75th fly pass. So we don't have details of what that will entail exactly, but I can imagine very many partner nations getting involved there, and that could be quite a sight. Did you answer, Angus? I don't remember.
I did, yes. I
Given you your
said
answer.
F4 for the static, and I couldn't think of an answer for the flying. I think I have thought of an answer now, which is the U2 on the Friday, which is, as far as I'm aware, the first U2 display at a British airshow for something like 20 years, maybe even longer.
That's quite something. Like when I saw Ben tweeted about it, and I sort of vaguely remember a U2 at an Alconbury show way back when, but I think that was
Alconbury
probably
91 had a U2.
okay. I see, my memory is that I was on the like traffic coming in or out, so it's probably a operational mission or training mission or something rather than part of the flying display. But yeah, we've seen U2s around the fringes of air tattoos in the past, but this the first time to see it in the display. Have they talked about the format of that display? Are we allowed to talk about the format of that display?
I have seen it talked about online, but I haven't seen RIAT talking about it online. So let's assume that maybe the format of that display hasn't been officially acknowledged.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a good one anyway. Lots a few low overshoots perhaps. And of course, the other theme we're talking about, so we talk about the F-16s. We've got the Canadian 50th as well. 100th. So we have seen in the past the very special schemes the CF-18s come to Air Tattoo in. Now, this little package is one of those, isn't it? That's from a previous Air Tattoo.
This is actually from Yeovilton, possibly. I can't remember which clip I picked out in the end. So in 2018, the CF-18 came to the UK to celebrate RAF 100, and it did 2 shows here, Yeovilton and RIAT on back-to-back weekends. And Plains TV, although it was before my time, looking through the programs, it was quite nice to see that we had some pretty good access and interviews with the pilots and cockpit footage. And I can't remember which of the 2 shows I chose to draw a clip from, but it's one of those 2 events in 2018 with a paint scheme that on that occasion marked the NATO anniversary.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I can just see the clip now. Let's roll that. You can get a chance, get an idea of what we're likely to see next week from the Canadians.
So my name is Captain Stefan Porteous. My call sign is Porcelain, and I'm Canada's 2018 CF-18 demo pilot. I initially got into aviation when I was 12 years old. I joined the Royal Canadian Air Cadet program based out of Comox with 386 Squadron Royal Canadian Air Cadets. And then I was lucky enough to be awarded the flying scholarships for gliding when I was 16 years old, and when I was 17 I got my private license on Cessnas.
Watch now as Porcelain displays the CF-18's exceptional rolling capabilities. From the left, the Quad 270 roll. Get your cameras ready as Porcelain presents the NORAD 60 jet during the topside pass.
We have 2 different Hornet models. We only fly the F-18 Hornet as our fighter jet, We have the A model and the B model. The A model, which is a single seat. We also have the B model, like I mentioned, which is a 2-seat version. The only difference between the two is that you lose a little bit of gas in the B model. We've had these in service since the early 80s, and we have had them under a constant upgrade system. So every couple of years they undergo a major upgrade to make sure that we're still at the leading edge of the fight.
In order to get behind an enemy into what fighter pilots call the control zone, a pilot must occasionally slow down. The aircraft that can fly the slowest will gain the advantage. Captain Porteous will now demonstrate the high angle of attack capability of the Hornet at minimum speed.
It's an honor to fly this airplane behind me. I'm lucky enough that they give me the sports car version. So what I mean by that is no tanks, no pylons, no weapons on it. So it's very light, it's very agile, and I get that pure 32,000 pounds of thrust with the afterburner.
Porcelain's coming by for one final pass, and he's going to give us all a wave. So make sure everyone down here on the ground, we want to see you waving back because he will be watching.
So we've seen some clips already today of me going globe-trotting in Dubai, and I've been globe-trotting in other places as well, because that CF-18 we saw in the 2018 special scheme, but there is a new special scheme for this year, which I went out to see in Canada a couple of weeks ago, and here it is. If you look closely at the top side, or we're just coming around to the underside now, where you'll see the logo of RCAF 100. But on the top side, as that comes back into view, you'll see there's sort of cogs and mechanical motifs at the back, then moving into binary code over the center of the wing, and then electrical circuitry at the front of the aircraft, kind of showing the evolution of technology for this sort of the history of the Royal Canadian Air Force. And yeah, really lovely paint scheme. Looking forward to seeing that in the flesh, and looking forward also to its two-ship victory flight, I believe they are calling it, with the Spitfire, which is a Spitfire in Canadian colours as well. So that'll be lovely to see. And indeed the wider selection of Canadian statics, which would include a Kingfisher, as a Polaris. I imagine it'll be one of the last times that that we see a Polaris at a European air show. So there's some really interesting things coming up from the Canadians.
And I've just noticed our next VT is it's another theme of the show. So the test flight theme, pushing the boundaries. And this next video is one that I went and recorded. Now, you've just edited this, Adam. Tell me how old this material is, because it took us a while to get to.
I think the material is about 18 months old.
Yeah,
is it that? Is that bad? It might not be quite that bad, but yes, relatively newly edited in the last month or so. It's a nice little piece. I got quite jealous of you for being able to go and experience this. It looked like good fun.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is the Saab 340 at Cranfield, and used as a flying classroom. So you get on board, in the TV in the seat in front of you is a readout of instruments, and I think there's a sort of a presentation sort of slide thing there as well. It's sort of giving you prompts of things to record. So this, I thought, a nice opportunity to share this video finally with you ahead of its arrival into Fairford next week for static display as part of the test flight theme.
In the first instance, we will take a look at the short period oscillation, and I will count the pilots in. 3, 2, 1, go! That was a great one. Is everybody okay at the back? Thumbs up, lovely.
Hello, my name is Joseph Brown. I'm one of the pilots here at the National Flying Laboratory Centre at Cranfield University. So this is our flying lab aircraft. It's a Saab 340, built in 1998, third from the last on the production line. We bought it officially in 2019. It's been heavily modified into the flying lab aircraft that you see in front. University students who've been learning about the theory of flight, we put them on board, expose them to real-life flight test techniques, and it's down to them to explain why their theory doesn't always match our practice. It's like learning to drive, or trying to learn to drive just by reading about it. And then you go and sit in a car and you manipulate the controls and you drive, and all of a sudden you join all the dots together and that makes sense. It's exactly the same with these guys who have been learning about Fugoys and Dutch rolls and roll modes and how the wing works and everything else. But without fail, they all get off with a big grin on their face, and they all love the experience.
Aeronaut 02, contact ground for approach 122, decimal 855, goodbye. 122, decimal 855, Aeronaut 02, thanks, bye.
I'm going to measure the pitch moment at 6 different speeds or 6 different values of alpha. Okay, we're starting our climb now. So when it gets to 160 knots, I'm going to freeze the screen. That'll be our first data point. Okay, that's our first data point, 160 knots. The elevator angle is minus 1.0. Now we're reducing speed to 150, so alpha will therefore be greater. Pitch moment will be greater, so we'll need more elevator to balance the pitching moment.
Things like the Fugoys you wouldn't necessarily come across in the commercial aviation world. So the aircraft gets pitched up, slowed down from its trim speed. The pilots release the controls and the aircraft returns to its trimmed angle of attack, and then it starts hunting the speed. If it's an unstable aircraft or one with a very rearward CFG, you can get it so it diverges and becomes greater and greater and greater.
So we will now take a look at the long period pitch mode, or the Fugoid mode. In this case, the pilots will raise the nose of the aircraft to about 20 degrees, and when they are ready they will release the stick. We will observe what happens. And the controls are released. So as the controls are released, the aircraft attempts to regain that trim speed. It does that by pitching nose forward, nose down. As the aircraft accelerates through the trim speed, we will have an increase in lift. This we will experience as an increase in vertical acceleration, an increase in G, and this will cause the aircraft to pitch nose up. And you can see this happening now on your screen. You can feel the increase in G. As the aircraft pitches nose up to try and attain that trim speed, it will start to decelerate, and the aircraft will continue to pitch up and down, trying to regain this trim speed.
Dutch roll as well. That was really a demonstration to show you the importance of the yaw damper system in the aircraft. The yaw damper is designed to stop it from starting in the first place. Otherwise, you felt what the Dutch roll was. It's that yaw roll couple, and to have that for 8 hours going across the Atlantic in highly swept wing aircraft would be very uncomfortable. You'd have a lot of sick people down the back of the aircraft. So the yaw damper demonstration is to show you that it's there to stop it from starting.
Okay, the motion is starting now. The pilots are moving the rudder pedal from side to side. Out of the window you can see the circular pattern drawn by the wingtips against the horizon, and the pilots will stop oscillating now. So you can see from the graph in front of you the rudder deflection has returned to 0, but the aircraft continues to oscillate.
It's a very interesting flying. No two flights are really the same, and it's not a typical airline style roll. It's very interesting. Not only am I a pilot here, but I also do a lot of ground ops stuff along with our ground ops manager here, and there's a lot of management as well. We don't have a big team behind us. There's only 5 or 6 of us in the department at any one time.
Yeah, it was a fun day out the office a couple of winters ago. Looking forward to seeing the Saab and the guys from Cranfield at Air Tattoo next week. We are simulcasting here, so we're all live on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Lovely to see so many of you. We're also live on watch.planestv.com. That's the subscription service that most of you guys will be familiar with me going on about for the last 6 years. So we'll be doing the same throughout all of Air Tattoo. So live on both services for arrivals and departures. And then the main weekend proper, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, just going out on watch.planestv.com. And I should point out that the arrivals and departure streams are ad-free on the service as well. So if you are a subscriber, it's a good place to go. I can see plenty of you chatting over on that other service as well. So was it Abby saying they'd seen an F-15 in the Lake District today? That must have been pretty cool. Hope you were nice and high up a hill, maybe getting some pictures. And Jack are asking a question which we can answer in a moment with some video, which is I forgot, is the Danish F-16 display team displaying this year, or are they retired? And they are very much displaying, and we'll share a video with you in a moment. And there was another one as well. Oh, Moroccan Air Force, Jack saying that will be a rarity. It absolutely will be. And then one interesting question for us, Adam, was, is there going to be, this is Sam Smith, is there going to be any form of fly pasts on the weekend? Nothing announced so far, and we generally get at least one.
Well, something has been announced so far, which is, of course, the NATO flypast, which is going to be pretty special. But as for other special flypast, yes, you're right. We normally do get at least one, and nothing has been announced so far. But it would be surprising if it stays that way. So let's leave it at that.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. But yeah, as I say, great to see you guys joining in on the chat on that service, and we'll be very paying attention to both during the arrivals and departure stream. So do hop on there. I was gonna throw another question at you, but I better read it and process it before I do so. So the point of mentioning the two services is now's a good time to subscribe. So we have an offer running if you're on YouTube. We have an offer running to new subscribers over at watch.planestv.com. If you use the code RIAT 2024, you'll get 20% off your first 3 months. But thank you to all of those of you watching who are subscribers on that service. Hugely helpful through the winter months. And we've brought a few archive programs, and I have my edit software open here. I'm putting the finishing touches to some lost tapes from IAT in 1993, which was quite a show. If I get my act together by the end of this stream, I might be able to share with you a 4-ship of MiG-21s, but maybe saving it for later. Do sign up to the email newsletter for details of when that comes out on the streaming service. Not an edited program. This is very much a couple of cameras and just a refinement of the sort of rushes, if you like. But on the basis that these tapes have sat in our archive and not been seen by anyone, this material, I feel like it's probably about time, 31 years on, that we shared it with you. So we can do that now on the streaming service. So tell us what's coming next. We've got a clip, as I say, of the Danish and the Polish F-16s.
Yeah, obviously the F-16 is a big theme this year, and we've talked a bit about them already, but there's some really nice statics. We're going to have the debut in the static display of Moroccan F-16s, Romanian F-16s, Jordanian F-16s. In the Jordanian case, it'll be the first time for something like 25 years that they've sent fast jets to the air tattoo. But we're also going to have 3 in the flying display. And there's a little video here that's going to showcase 2 of them. We're going to look at the Danish F-16, which will probably be its last year on the airshow circuit, and then also the Polish F-16, which, Ian, as we both know, is a little bit different this year to how it has been in previous years. We just saw it out in Leszno in Poland. It's a very powerful demonstration. It's a chunky looking aircraft with the CFTs on as well. It looks quite menacing. So you'll see a few clips of that coming up as well, recorded out in Poland a few weeks ago.
For decades, the 4 European partner nations of the F-16 programme have entertained us at airshows with some extraordinary solo displays. But Norway, the Netherlands and, most recently, Belgium all no longer display, leaving just one. The Danish F-16 was due to be a highlight of the flying display at RIAT last year, but technical problems caused the cancellation of 2 of its displays, and the third was hampered by poor weather. So we hope the team have better luck in 2024. Denmark's F-16s are due to retire sometime next year, meaning this could very well be the type's last appearance in Danish hands at a British airshow. While Denmark is contributing one of the very earliest F-16 models for the flying display this year, Poland returns to the air tattoo to demonstrate one of their far newer Block 52 F-16s in the flying display for the first time since 2018. The F-16, known in Poland as the Jastrob, entered Polish Air Force service in 2006. In 2015 they began displaying the type at airshows under the name Tiger Demo Team. The youngest fast-jet solo displays on the circuit, this display has changed a lot since its last visit to RIAT 6 years ago, and is now in the hands of Captain Maciej Krakowian. And this is going to be quite loud, Luke.
Here it is, the F-16 Fighting Falcon.
Poland came to acquire the F-16 in the early 2000s. The country badly needed to modernise its Soviet-era air force, and an aggressive three-way competition ensued, pitting the F-16 against the Jas-39 Gripen and the Mirage 2000. The F-16 was the victor, and in Polish service it is known as the Jastrob, which translates as hawk. Lovely on-crowd, loaded roll, creating a spiral pattern of flares in the sky there. Little bit of burner on the way in. We saw that during the Thursday practice show actually as well. And then after this pass we'll be seeing the aircraft going into a muscle climb, and at the start of the climb quite a big release of flares, probably the biggest single flare release of the performance.
So we've looked at some solo aircraft so far, but it will be negligent of us to fail to mention that there are 6 national aerobatic teams at RIAT this year. That includes the Norwegians. It's their RIAT debut, I believe, but also the 3 teams on the Hawks, the Finnish that we've already mentioned, the Red Arrows and the Saudi Hawks. We've got the Patrie Swiss as well, and of course the Royal Jordanian Falcons. Those great stalwarts of the air tattoo, and what among those makes you salivate with anticipation?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
So I look forward to seeing the finish. I mean, despite no smoke winders and losing that, which I don't want to dwell on it, but it's cool smoke. You know, a couple of trails of smoke from each jet did differentiate them. But yeah, some interesting individual aircraft making up that display team. Saudis are always great. But for me, it's the Swiss. You know, there's something about the F5 rocking around the sky, and okay, we won't get flares. I always enjoyed them on the Hunter, and it's fairly similar display actually. And yeah, good punchy aeroplane, cool jet to see in a at any time. But yeah, to see a formation display team flying them is I can't think the last time I saw them actually. It's got to be a long while ago. So
NATO days and the Duxford flying finale in pretty close succession a couple of years ago, we ended up seeing something like 6 Patrie Swiss displays in the space of a fortnight. It was great.
Yeah, I remember regretting that we didn't have tickets to head off to Axalp the following week, because we could have just hung out with the guys for a few weeks. They're a good bunch as well. They really did make that flying finale a really special show actually at Duxford. I'd forgotten about that one. Yeah. Not hoping for a Swiss jet team this year, but the Duxford shows, which are all available on the streaming service, are always quite good fun actually. You never know quite what you're going to get, and tail end of the year it's surprising who comes out the woodwork to support these shows. Certainly had some good RAF support. Was it last year or the year before?
Well, coming up this year as well, the Red Arrow's flying at the flying finale in October.
Yeah, so it's almost back to the October show of old. What's the date? Can I give people a date? I haven't got my calendar open. I won't bother with that. But the one
October, I think.
Thank you. So the one display team that we've picked out a clip of is the Saudis, and this material from, I'm presuming, Air Tattoo, is it?
Yes, this is from RIAT last year. And it only partly applies, to be honest, because one of the things that I reference in commentary is the fact that this year they have a very different display routine. And in much the same way as the Reds have some interesting aircraft, some interesting maneuvers with multiple aircraft engaging in crossovers, so do the Saudis. And they have a section about 2/3 of the way through their display this year where there's quite a number of, I think it's 5 versus 3 crosses or 4 versus 3. And that looks very photogenic, not something that we saw from them last year. So interesting to see back-to-back comparison of two rather different Saudi Hawk displays. And as one of the commenters on YouTube picked up on about half an hour ago, it's also the last time we'll see the Saudi Hawks in the UK on the Hawk Mark 65 because they're about to change aircraft.
In the Hawk's 50th anniversary year, RIAT 2024 provides one of the last chances to see the Royal Saudi Air Force Saudi Hawks before they upgrade to a new aircraft. The Saudi Hawks have flown the Hawk Mark 65, analogous to the Red Arrow's Hawk T1s, ever since their inception in 1998. But at the end of this season, they'll be taking a year out to transition to the newer, larger and more powerful Hawk Mark 165. It's a display packed with symbolism, this year featuring several scintillating brand new manoeuvres and credited with holding the Guinness World Record for the largest aerial drawing, recognising the team's depiction of Saudi Arabia's national symbol, a palm tree crossed by 2 swords.
I'll come back. Awesome stuff. Yeah, great to see the Jets in different colour to what we're used to. It sort of feels like the Reds, doesn't it? But funny colour. What are we talking about now, Adam? We've got F-35 to look forward to this year, haven't we?
Yeah. Now this is a sort of new addition to the airshow circuit this year. A new F-35B roll demonstration from the Royal Air Force, from 617 Squadron, performing a calendar of, I think, about 4 or 5 events over the course of the year, and RIAT will be the second of those events. And it's not the first time that we've seen a British F-35 displayed at RIAT, but this is kind of the first all-British, pure British F-35 roll demonstration, because last time around, back in 2016, it was a British pilot in a British aircraft, but as part of an American squadron on a US-led deployment. So this time, it's an all-British affair. It's a quite different display to the one that we saw in 2016, and I saw it at Cosford. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing it too. Let's dig out that material then from Cosford, and we can take a look at what we're expecting to see.
It feels like this has been a long time coming. First received 12 years ago, the F-35 is the newest and most advanced combat aircraft in British service. New for 2024, the Royal Air Force F-35B Lightning roll demonstration.
So that was a mix of footage in there from RIAT 2016, but also from Cosford last month. And there's one thing that featured in that video very, very briefly, but I'd like to take a longer look at it because this is sort of new on me as far as RAF Lightning displays are concerned, which was a low-speed, high-alpha pass. And look at just how hard those stabilators are working at the back of the aircraft as the F-35 makes its way down the display line and then kicks in the afterburner at the end. It has such fantastic high-alpha performance, the F-35, limited to somewhere in the region of 50 degrees of alpha. And yeah, very impressive sight to see what looks like a bit of a brick of an aeroplane, especially the B model, parading along the line so slowly, but still in wing-borne flight.
It will be quite something. It's been enjoyable to witness. I suppose it's the first time, I suppose, other than the Typhoon, that I've sort of borne witness to a new aircraft coming into active service. And it's been interesting to see how that's gone through at Air Tattoo. You know, we've had the arrivals, the will they, won't they make it, and now here we are seeing a full-blown roll demonstration from the Royal Air Force. So it's going to be a fun one, that one, and to see it alongside. I'm trying to think what other RAF things. Oh, one of the sidetrack completely. Won't it be good to see the Falcons dropping? Oh, is that public? They're dropping on the Friday, aren't they?
Yes.
Start opening the show. C-17. We can talk about that, can we?
Yes, I believe so.
I hope so. That's going to be cool. You know, I was watching on the same afternoon, I was watching that 1993 material I was talking about earlier of IAT, and saw the Falcons there dropping out the Herc. If you're as old or older than I am, you'll remember from air shows past as being just what you saw at almost every show. You know, the Falcons would have that Herc supporting them, but generally in recent years we've seen lighter aircraft. So yeah, it'd be excellent to see them jumping from an aircraft they'll be familiar with over at Bryce, and that will be, I think, opening the flying on Friday. Is that right? Seem to remember.
Yes, that is correct.
I think so yeah, good stuff. So that was the home team, but some more overseas.
And before we move on from that, I did spot a couple of questions in the chat. Angus asks if we know who the RAF F-35 display pilot is. No, we don't, and no, we won't. And another question as well about the possibility of an American F-35 at Air Tattoo, and referencing that it went to a show in Germany a few weeks ago. Yes, it did, but that's because the American demonstration teams have a different set of rules for trade shows versus non-trade shows, and the German event was a trade show, and thus the participation of the US Air Force display teams is approved through a different and less restrictive channel, and that is why you will often see the US demo teams at events like that.
Hey, good stuff. I'm enjoying the chat over on our website as well. I've got slightly sidetracked. Adam, forgive me for not paying full attention. German Typhoon. Is that what you just have you literally just introed it and I missed it?
No, I haven't. There's a good segue available here because the F-35 is a sort of RIAT debut in RAF hands. But here's another fast jet RIAT debut, which is the German Eurofighter EF-2000, and I use that phrase very deliberately because officially it's not a Typhoon when it's German, and that is a display that hasn't been out and about very much. Last year, I think they only did 3 shows, and the year before it might have only been 2. They're gradually ramping things up. It'll be 5 or 6 this year, and that includes the RIAT debut of the display, and it's quite different from the other Eurofighter stroke Typhoon displays that we're used to seeing. We're going to play a video in a moment and you'll see the difference. So we're quite used to seeing in a typical fast jet display the aircraft rolling out at some point to proceed along the display line and to perhaps do some rolls, extending away on the 45-degree lines with some big loaded barrel rolls, perhaps some vertical maneuvers, lots of B-axis stuff. And you don't really get that from the German Eurofighter display. Instead, there is a really remarkably tight performance with almost constant high G turning, almost like an 8-minute wagon wheel in front of the crowd with lots of high G turns, lots of figure of 8s. And it's got quite a different character to the other Typhoon and Eurofighter displays to a much greater extent than I think a lot of people are expecting.
It is officially named the Eurofighter in German service, not the Typhoon. The Air Force is gradually building this up into an official display team, but for now, it remains a rather elusive airshow participant.
So those clips that you just saw came from Anti-Dotum Airshow Leszno a couple of years ago. A show that I went along to just because I love it, but any regular viewers of this channel will know that the whole team went out to Leszno this year. It was, 3 weeks ago now, and we had an absolutely wonderful weekend. What a great show, and a show that has a quite special relationship with the German Eurofighter display team as well. They've been a couple of years on the trot now, so really good to see them. Looking forward to seeing them at the Air Tattoo as well. And Ash references no, it wasn't Ash, it was JDS Aviation Adventures references the fact that the Germans will also be sending an A400M roll demonstration, fly pasts technically, to the Air Tattoo this year. And yes, we're looking forward to seeing that as well in a somewhat similar vein to the fly past that we saw from the A400M last year, albeit flanked by a couple of tornadoes on that occasion. And while we're on the subject of rarities, it feels a bit odd calling this a rarity when it's actually been to something like 3 out of the past 5 air tattoos, but how brilliant to have a Spanish Harrier back in the flying display again.
5 years ago, you probably wouldn't have believed it, but today the Harrier can arguably be described as a RIAT regular. The Spanish Navy is returning with an EAV-8B Matador 2 Plus for the flying display this year, meaning they will have attended 3 out of the last 5 Royal International Air Tattoos. By next year, Spain will probably be the last remaining Harrier operator in Europe. Long may their RIAT appearances continue.
Always great to see a Harrier. Such a nostalgic sight, and I missed the glory days of British Harrier displays, but lovely to see the Spanish supporting the Air Tattoo. Couple of questions still about the Germans in the chat and their contribution to the Air Tattoo and to the airshow scene more generally. Someone asks, what livery the Germans, the German EF-2000 will have at RIAT. And now there is a special scheme, Tiger-themed Eurofighter on the circuit at the moment, and that is the primary display aircraft for the team. Doesn't necessarily mean it'll definitely be the one that they have at the Air Tattoo, but it is the one that they use as far as possible. And the other question was about the tornadoes. The Germans did a tornado display in Berlin, says Morgan Galley. I didn't know that. He asks if they're building a solo team. I don't know. Wouldn't it be lovely? But there's sometimes some anomalies around the displays that happen at ILA Berlin. And I think I am right in saying that actually the Eurofighter display at ILA Berlin was not a German Air Force display. it was an Airbus display using a German aircraft, even though the German Air Force does have a Eurofighter display team. And there could be something similar happening with the Tornado as well. So it would be lovely if there was a solo display being worked up. I don't know if there is one. But just because something happened at Ela doesn't necessarily mean it's representative of what's happening in the broader German Air Force. Just to sort of, sorry to put some sand on that fire, but that's
cool.
just the way things have been at Ela in the past.
Yeah, it would be cool. I've only done one Ela. We should find an excuse to get out to Germany again. In fact, maybe even next year. Actually, there might be a reason to go to Germany. We'll see. We will see. We're trying to spread our wings a little bit into Europe. We had a wonderful time at Legno the other week. We're looking forward to NATO Days in September. That live stream out through NATO Day's own YouTube channel. But we do have lots to look forward to on our streaming service aside from Air Tattoo, which of course will start coverage Wednesday, 9 a.m. next week. You can watch it wherever you're watching this, so either on YouTube or our streaming service. The main show weekend, of course, Friday, Saturday, Sunday through watch.planestv.com. So we need to be a paying subscriber for that one. It's $12.99 per month. But if you sign up now using the offer code RIAT 2024, new subscribers can get the first 3 months for 20% off for each month. So hopefully that's extra incentive to join up there. And what else are we looking forward to? So we do have the Duxford show in September. We'll have an edited highlights program from Air Tattoo. So that's something you've been editing the last couple of years. And in the days of DVD, that would have been something I'd have taken hold of. And it's interesting that, this we've come full circle again, haven't we, a little bit with some of the discussions we're having at the moment, Adam. So our focus has always been for 35 years this company's been running, started by my old man and releasing programs on VHS, then DVD, and the odd bit of other media as well in there, I suppose Blu-ray as well. But now our focus is very much on stuff like this, live broadcasting. But it always seems like a bit of a shame when you walk away from a show where you've done an 8-hour long live broadcast. Well, there aren't many people who are going to sit and watch that whole thing. Maybe you guys will do, and I know people do. But actually, that highlights program, so bringing together the very best bits of the 3 days, or even the 5 or 6 days that we cover the show for, including onboard material and bits of material that we will be shooting as well around the the display aircraft, sort of close up with the aircraft, getting a sense of what's going on there, and some impressive material over there as well. Yeah, bringing that all together in a highlights program is something we've continued to do since 2015, and we'll continue to do so. And we're targeting release date of November 1st, aren't we? We're sort of plotting a bit of a schedule of releases through the winter months to keep things ticking over on the service. So yeah, that one's always one to look out for. Sign up to the email newsletter. If you're a subscriber, you'll get notifications about it. Once you've signed up on the website, do make sure to download our app. So we now have apps on Android and on iPhone, and the new service has AirPlay and Chromecast functionality. So this was new service. What are you talking about, Ian? It's the same web address. It's the same thing. Well, actually, if you haven't had an email newsletter from me, which I've been going on about this for a few months, we've relaunched the service on a new platform. So it has very much better playback experience on TV via Chromecast and AirPlay over and above what the previous service offered. So yeah, give watch.planestv.com a go. If you're browsing the catalogue, I've made one of the videos free to view for anyone. So if you want to have a little test of the Chromecast and AirPlay functionality, you can go for the B1 cockpit tour. It's on the behind the scenes list on the catalog homepage, and you can try that current Chromecast and AirPlay functionality. I think it's worth doing before the show weekend proper, because I'm excited about that improved viewing experience. What else have we got to look forward to later part of the season?
We've got Duxford Flying Finale, and indeed all the other Duxford Flying events, their evening show, for example. And then we're also up to Scotland.
We are up to air. I've been emailing the guys about that. We're going to have a really good setup there, actually. It's going to be cool. Evening flying display on the Friday, and then Saturday. I mean, last year, We had such beautiful weather on the Friday. I'd love to repeat that. It was very photogenic indeed. Lovely venue for that, looking out over the sea. We threatened interruptions. I don't know whether you guys can hear my barking dog, but wife's home, and doesn't the dog know it? So yeah, we're sort of rounding off our chat now, looking ahead to RIAT next week. I've said it repeatedly, but we're live from Wednesday through to Monday afternoon. We'll kick off at 9 a.m. on Wednesday with some of the first arrivals. Show weekend proper, Friday, Saturday, Sunday on watch.planestv.com. Use the offer code RIAT2024, and that does expire on Thursday. So use it now. RIAT2024. If you're a new subscriber, will give you 20% off your first 3 months. Now, any loose ends I haven't covered, Adam?
Well, there's some more questions that have come in, which I can dispense with, at least as far as the YouTube chat goes, and perhaps you can see if anything has come in on the website while I do that. Yes, a few questions I spotted popping up. Sammy asking, has there been a mention of the yellow sparrows? Yes, there has been, but let's talk about them a little bit more, because there is one aspect of their trip that is probably worthy of mentioning, which is the fact it's going to take them something like 3 days to get to the UK. They can't come in a straight line because the sea is too big. So they're having to come all the way around through the Benelux area. So that's quite an epic journey for them. Chipaz1990 asks, what are the Americans bringing? And Angus has answered fairly comprehensively, but there's a couple of others as well. There's a couple of C-130s, and there's also an RC-135, which is going to be very interesting to see. Patch says, what are our thoughts on the Tornado anniversary flying under the radar? I'm not sure it has flown under the radar. We've got the only 2 Tornado operators in Europe sending aircraft to the show. So it's probably about as good as could reasonably be expected. And then there was another question I spotted as well, although I can't find it at the moment. So over to you, Ian, while I take a look for it.
So I saw a couple of comments on the on watch.planestv.com us talking about, so it was about that AirPlay. So yeah, great to hear that Jake's watching via AirPlay now, so on his TV rather than messing about with laptops and HDMI cables and things. He's AirPlaying to his TV and he had a perfect stream and no issues. So that's very good to hear. That's what I like to hear, because we went to a lot of effort to make the transition to this platform. And another comment there saying, I'll be watching every day, all day, except for Sunday, because that's when I'll be at Air Tattoo.
I did find that other question. Panzerkampf Banana asks, what do they do with the active aircraft based at Fairford, like the B-1s and the B-52s? B-1s and B-52s aren't based at Fairford, at least not at the moment, so they don't have to worry about that. There are some U-2s based at Fairford, and they continue to operate around the air show. It doesn't really seem to affect them all of that much. So hopefully that answers that question.
No, and taking part in the flying display this year. So on Friday, we'll have the first, as you've said already, first U2 in a flying display in the UK for a very long time indeed. And what a sight and sound that will be. Quite a powerful machine. Great. Well, I've enjoyed this. I am excited. We've got an awful lot of work to do. I am on the road tomorrow for about 9 hours driving, something ridiculous, picking up our trailer, which has had our outside broadcast trailer, which we use at Air Tattoo. That's had some engineering work done on it. Yeah, the prep starts now for us, or if not a few weeks ago, to be honest. A good few solid days for me between now and flicking that button to go live at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. So if you haven't already, head over to, if you're watching on YouTube and you're not a subscriber on the streaming service, do consider heading to watch.planestv.com. In fact, if you head to planestv.com/RIAT2024, that will give you all the information you need about our coverage. Well, thank you very much, Adam. Thanks for making the time of an evening. And thank you for having such quiet pets, quieter than mine.
Yeah, they've been very well behaved. I was a bit worried. There was a lot of woofing about 5 minutes before we went live.
I've had the most extraordinary. Adam's covered very well, but I've had a friend knocking at the door, both children are awake, and the dog barking pretty well relentlessly throughout the whole thing. So this is a flashback to my COVID days when I did lots of these home broadcasts, but it's been a while since we've done one, so I've enjoyed the interruptions anyway. Great. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'll leave you with Adam's beautifully put introduction to Airsa 2 and a taste of what we'll be looking forward to seeing next week.
Welcome to RIAT. It calls itself the world's greatest air show, and with 250 aircraft from almost 30 nations, that's a difficult claim to dispute. Planes TV will bring you all the action from RIAT 2024 across 6 days of live broadcasting, from arrivals to departures and everything in between. This year's show marks 50 years of the F-16, the most successful fighter in operation today. With over 20 Fighting Falcons from 10 air arms expected, it will be one of the largest gatherings of F-16s ever at a public event. RIAT also marks the 75th anniversary of NATO with special flypasts on the Friday, and the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Air Force with their CF-18 demo team due to perform all weekend long. We're looking forward to seeing several RIAT flying display debuts this year, like the F-15 Advanced Eagle making one of its first public appearances. Also RIAT first-timers, Germany's relatively young EF-2000 and A400M solo displays. They'll be joined by numerous familiar favourites, 2 more Typhoons, 3 Gripens, the Spanish Harrier, Italian C-27, German NH-90, Patrie Swiss and Midnight Hawks. The static participants are too numerous to mention, but the B-52, F-4, CC-150 and Elise will surely go down as highlights. Watch it unfold with Planes TV.